My father looked straight at me and said, "We spent your savings on someone better." No hesitation, no blink, just the truth. He thought I was too weak to question it. The room tightened around me, the clink of Adrian's fork, my mother's fake cough, the low hum of the dining room light. For a second, I wasn't sure if my own pulse or the silence was louder. I finally asked, "Better than me?" That's when Abuelo Tomas slowly stood, his face turning hard, the kind of hard that means something is about to break. "Name that someone," he said. "Now." But the real betrayal didn't start at that table, and it didn't end there either. My name is Catalina Rodriguez. Most people call me Kat, and for most of my life, I thought staying quiet made things easier. I grew up in a house where silence kept the peace and noise invited trouble. Our neighborhood sat on the outskirts of the city, the kind with identical lawns and families who smiled at each other but never asked too many questions. From the outside, we looked perfect. Inside, we were a math equation that never balanced. I was 8 when I first understood I wasn't the favored variable. It was my birthday, March 14th, 2010. I remember because I'd been counting down the days, convinced this year would be different. This year, they'd see me the way they saw Adrian. My little brother was only 4 then, all chubby cheeks and easy smiles. He got a brand new bicycle that morning, cherry red with training wheels and streamers on the handlebars. I watched from the hallway as Dad assembled it in the garage, Mom hovering with that soft look she reserved for Adrian. Only Adrian. My gift came later, wrapped in newspaper, not wrapping paper. A used book, Charlotte's Web. The spine was cracked, pages yellowed. Someone else's name scribbled inside the cover. "You're the big girl," Mom said, not quite meeting my eyes. "You understand." I nodded because that's what big girls did. We understood. But later that night, I heard something I wasn't supposed to. I'd gotten up for water. My throat felt tight, like I'd swallowed something sharp, and passed by the bathroom. The door was cracked open. Inside, my mother sat on the edge of the tub, face in her hands, shoulders shaking. She was crying. I stood there, frozen, watching Natalia Rodriguez come apart in a way I'd never seen. And through her tears, she whispered something that didn't make sense then, but would haunt me for years. "She has her eyes." God, why does she have to have her eyes? I didn't know who her was. I crept back to bed and tried to forget. The pattern solidified over the years like sediment settling into stone. I learned to pack my own lunches in 4th grade because Mom was too busy taking Adrian to his soccer practices. I walked myself to school while he got driven, even when it rained. When I won first place at the science fair in 6th grade, neither parent showed up because Adrian had a stomachache. "He needed us," Dad explained later. "You're independent. You'll be fine." I was fine. I became very good at being fine. But Adrian noticed. Sometimes, late at night, he'd appear at my bedroom door. "I wish they treated you better," he'd whisper, guilt written across his 12-year-old face. "It's okay," I'd say. "They love you more. That's not your fault." Except it felt like it was. Like somehow, just by existing, I'd failed a test I didn't know I was taking. Everything changed, or maybe just crystallized, when I turned 16. I got my first real job that summer, filing papers at a small law office downtown. The work was boring, but the paycheck was mine. 40 hours a week at $9 an hour. I saved every dollar I didn't absolutely need to spend. Dad noticed. "You're responsible," he said, and for once it sounded like praise. "Let me help you open a savings account. We'll put it in both our names, easier to manage that way, and I can help you track it." I trusted him. Of course I did. This was what families did, wasn't it? They helped each other build futures. Red flags I missed, the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes, the way he insisted on joint ownership for my own good, the way Mom looked away when he said it. 2 years later, at 18, I got a letter in the mail. Full-ride academic scholarship to State University. My guidance counselor called it a miracle. I called it my ticket out. But when I brought it home, the celebration I'd imagined never came. "That's wonderful, mija," Dad said, barely glancing up from his laptop. Mom forced a smile. "Very impressive." Then, over dinner, Dad dropped it. "We need to talk about Adrian's college fund." My stomach dropped before he even finished. His grades are good, but not scholarship material. The fund we set aside, he cleared his throat. "It's not enough, not for 4 years." The implication hung in the air like smoke. I could see Adrian shrinking in his chair, 14 and mortified. "I'll defer," I heard myself say. "Work for a year or two, let Adrian use the fund. I can go later." "Kat, no," Adrian started. "It makes sense," I cut him off. "I'm older. I can wait." What I meant was, I'm already the one who doesn't matter. "Might as well make it official." Dad nodded, satisfied. Mom looked relieved. Adrian looked devastated. Only Abuelo Tomas, who'd been visiting that week, remained stone-faced. After dinner, he pulled me aside. His grip on my arm was firm, urgent. "Catalina, you don't have to do this." "I want to," I lied. He studied my face for a long moment. Then he said something strange. "One day you'll see the truth. And when you do, I'll be ready." Ready for what? "To teach you how to fight." His eyes were sad. "I'm preparing for that day, mija. I just hope it comes before they break you completely." I didn't understand. I wouldn't. Not for 5 more years. The next 3 years blurred together in a haze of work. I took every shift I could get. Barista at the campus coffee shop where I never studied. Receptionist at a dental office. Weekend admin work. By 20, I'd saved $15,000. It felt like proof of something, that I mattered, that I could build something solid with my own hands. But I noticed things. Strange things. Adrian's college tuition was $40,000 a year. Mom and Dad claimed scholarships and loans covered most of it, but the math didn't add up. Adrian started showing up with expensive things: a new MacBook, designer clothes, admission to a summer art intensive in Barcelona. "Scholarship money," Mom explained when I asked. But I had a friend, Jessica Thompson, who worked in the university's financial aid office. Over coffee one afternoon, I mentioned Adrian's generous scholarships. Jessica frowned. "Kat, I'd have to check, but I don't think his package is that comprehensive. Most of our students with his profile get maybe $8K a year. Tops." Something cold settled in my chest. "Maybe I'm wrong," I said quickly. But I wasn't. And Jessica could see it on my face. "Kat," she said carefully, "why don't you have sole control of your savings account? You're 23. That joint account with your dad, it's unusual." "He's just helping me manage." "Honey," Jessica's voice was gentle, "that's not normal." By the time I turned 23 and moved into my own apartment in the city, I'd built a life that looked like independence. A 1-bedroom with thin walls and a view of a parking lot, but it was mine. I decorated with thrift store frames and kept a stubborn succulent on the windowsill. Every other weekend I drove home. Not because of my parents, we'd settled into a cold politeness by then, but because of Abuelo Tomas. He lived 3 hours away, but he always arranged his visits to coincide with mine. We'd sit in his car in the driveway before I went inside, and he'd ask questions that felt like tests. "You checking your account regularly, mija?" "Yeah, Abuelo, every month." "You know you can freeze a joint account if you need to, right? Change the permissions?" "Why would I need to do that?" He'd just look at me with those sharp lawyer eyes and say, "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time." I never understood what he meant. He was always saying cryptic things like that, dropping hints I was too trusting to catch. But he saw things I didn't. He watched the way Rafael, his own son, my father, avoided eye contact when I mentioned my savings goals. The way Natalia tensed whenever I was in a room too long. The way Adrian had a new laptop, new clothes, a new everything, on a student budget. One weekend in late November, something shifted. I couldn't sleep that Saturday night. The guest room at my parents' house felt suffocating, so I crept downstairs for water. That's when I heard their voices, hushed and urgent, coming from Dad's study. "We can't keep doing this." Dad's voice strained. "Just a little longer." Mom, pleading. "She doesn't check often enough to notice yet." My heart stopped. "What if Papa finds out?" Dad again. Mom's laugh was bitter. "He already suspects, but he has no proof." I stood there in the dark hallway, barefoot and frozen, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. When I finally moved, it was back upstairs, not toward them. Not yet. I wasn't ready. I told myself I'd misheard, misunderstood. But Sunday morning, as I was leaving, Abuelo walked me to my car. "You heard something last night," he said. Not a question. I stared at him. "How did you—" "Because I know my son, and I've been waiting for you to hear it too." He handed me a business card. "James Mitchell, lawyer, financial fraud specialist. When you're ready, call him." "Abuelo, I don't—" "You will." His voice was heavy with certainty. "And when you do, know that I've been documenting everything for 6 months. You won't fight this alone." Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. The night everything broke. I came home from work exhausted, heated leftover pasta, and opened my laptop out of habit. Monthly check-in, always on the 11th. I logged into my account. The number didn't make sense. Balance, $2,847. I blinked, refreshed, checked the Wi-Fi, refreshed again. Still $2,847. It should have been $28,000. 3 years of work, of sacrifice, of sleeping in a shitty apartment and skipping meals to save. Gone. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. I couldn't swallow, couldn't breathe. Then I clicked on recent activity, and the floor fell out from under me. Withdrawal, $800. November 26th, 2024. Withdrawal, $1,100. November 19th, 2024. Withdrawal, $500. November 12th, 2024. On and on and on. Every Tuesday. For 8 months. Not random theft. Not a hack. Systematic. Intentional. Calculated. Someone with access. Someone who knew exactly when I wouldn't be looking. I pulled up my call log with shaking hands and dialed Jessica. "Kat? It's 9 p.m. What?" "My account is empty." My voice didn't sound like mine. $25,000 gone. "What? How?" "I know who did it." Silence. Then, "Kat, if this is family, that's embezzlement. That's criminal. I need to see them face to face. You need a lawyer first. I need the truth first." But I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table and built a case like I'd seen Abuelo do 100 times in my childhood, back when he still practiced law. Printed every statement, screenshot every withdrawal, built a timeline. April, Adrian's new laptop, $2,500. June, family vacation to Florida. I was too busy to join. September, Adrian joins expensive art program. November, mom gets a new car. Total, $25,153 stolen. I put it all in a red folder, labeled it evidence. Then I called Abuelo. "You knew," I said when he answered. "Didn't you?" A long silence. Then, "I suspected. But you needed to find it yourself. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me, mija? Or would you have defended them?" I couldn't answer. He was right. "This Saturday," he continued. "I'll be there for dinner. Your mother already invited me. And Kat." His voice softened. "I have something for you too. Something you should have had 4 months ago." "What?" "Saturday. When you're ready to face them, you'll have everything you need." Thursday morning arrived with the kind of gray sky that matched my insides. I called in sick to work, the first time in 2 years, and spent the day becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone who investigated her own family like they were criminals. Because they were, weren't they? I drove to the bank, spoke to a manager, confirmed what I already knew. Every withdrawal had been authorized by the joint account holder, my father, Rafael Rodriguez, CEO of Rodriguez and Associates Consulting, respected businessman, loving father, thief. "Is there anything we can do?" the manager asked, her sympathy genuine but useless. "Can I remove him from the account?" "Both parties have to consent, or you'd need a court order." Of course, the trap had been built perfectly. I'd signed my own cage at 16, too trusting to see the bars. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to remember how to breathe. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Jessica. You okay? Do you need me to come over? Me. I need to know how to freeze a joint account. Jessica. Kat, that's legal territory. You need to talk to someone who knows what they're doing. She was right. I pulled out the business card Abuelo had given me. James Mitchell, attorney at law. Specialization, financial fraud and elder abuse. Elder abuse. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was the one being abused, but by my elders. I called. A secretary answered, professional and brisk. I need to speak to James Mitchell. It's about financial fraud, family matter. Mr. Mitchell's schedule is quite full, but tell him Tomas Rodriguez sent me. He'll know. A pause. One moment. 30 seconds later, a man's voice came on. Young, but serious. Ms. Rodriguez, I've been expecting your call. How soon can you get to my office? Kat. James Mitchell's office was in a restored brick building downtown, the kind with exposed beams and plants that somehow stayed alive in low light. He was younger than I expected, mid-30s maybe, with tired eyes that said he'd seen too much human ugliness for his age. Your grandfather hired me 6 months ago, he said after I sat down. No preamble. He suspected what was happening but needed proof before approaching you. I felt something twist in my chest. He's known for 6 months? He's known something was wrong. He didn't know the extent until I started documenting. James pulled out a folder, thicker than mine. Every transaction time-stamped, pattern analysis. Your father was careful, but not careful enough. He spread the papers across his desk like a map of betrayal. $25,153 over 8 months. Always on Tuesdays, always between transactions you'd made, buried in the statement so you'd have to look carefully to notice. He pointed to a graph. It accelerated over time. Started at 500, ended at 1,200. Classic behavior when someone thinks they're getting away with it. I stared at the evidence. My life, quantified. My trust, graphed. There's more, James said quietly. He pulled out another document. Credit application. Your name, your social security number, your employment information, filed 3 weeks ago. My stomach dropped. What? Your father tried to open a personal loan in your name. $15,000. It was flagged for verification, standard procedure for first-time applicants, so it never went through, but the intent was there. Identity theft. Not just embezzlement. He'd been planning to bury me in debt I didn't even know about. Why? The word came out broken. Why would he do this? James leaned back. That's what we need to find out. Your grandfather has theories, but... He hesitated. This Saturday's dinner. He's planned it carefully. You'll confront them. He'll be there as witness, and I'll be waiting in my car outside in case you need immediate legal intervention. You've thought of everything. Your grandfather thinks of everything. James's expression softened slightly. He loves you very much, Ms. Rodriguez. This has been killing him, watching this happen, waiting for you to be strong enough to face it. And if I'm not strong enough, then we do this the legal way. Press charges, file civil suit, freeze everything. He paused. But Tomas thinks you need to hear the truth from them. He thinks you deserve that closure before we burn it all down. Friday crawled by like something wounded. I went to work but couldn't focus. Every time my phone rang, I jumped. Every time I saw my reflection, I saw a stranger, someone harder, angrier, more dangerous than the woman who'd existed 3 days ago. Jessica met me for lunch. One look at my face, and she ordered us both wine. You look like you haven't slept. I haven't. I picked at my salad. Did you know that there are forums online for financial abuse survivors? I found them last night. Hundreds of people whose families stole from them. Kat? One woman's mother took $80,000. Another guy's brother destroyed his credit score. There are people who lost houses, retirements, children's college funds. I laughed, but it sounded wrong. And they all say the same thing. I never thought my family would do this to me. Jessica reached across the table and grabbed my hand. What are you going to do? Tomorrow night. Dinner. I'm going to ask them why. And if they don't have a good answer? I thought about the red folder in my bag, the lawyer waiting outside, the grandfather who'd spent 6 months preparing for this moment. Then I stopped being the good daughter who understands. Saturday arrived with cruel sunshine, the kind of perfect December day that belonged in someone else's life. I spent the morning in my apartment, rehearsing conversations that all ended in screaming. I tried on 4 different outfits before settling on jeans and a sweater, armor disguised as casual. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. Abuelo. Mija, you ready? No. He chuckled, but it was sad. Good. Means you're taking this seriously. A pause. Before tonight, I need to tell you something. About your mother. My pulse quickened. What about her? She had a best friend in college, Vanessa Wright. They were inseparable, closer than sisters. Until you were born. Something cold slithered down my spine. What happened when I was born? Vanessa told your mother she was treating you differently than she would treat a son, that she was distant, cold, favoring the idea of a future boy over the daughter she had. Abuelo's voice was heavy. Natalia cut her off completely. Didn't speak to Vanessa for 21 years. Why are you telling me this? Because Vanessa Wright is the private lender your father owes $180,000 to. She contacted me last month. She wants to meet you. The world tilted. She's the one Dad borrowed from? Your mother begged her for help when the company went under. Vanessa agreed because she remembered the little girl she used to hold. You, Catalina. She lent them money, hoping maybe, after all these years, Natalia had changed. His voice cracked. She hadn't. Abuelo. Vanessa will be important later. For now, just know this. Your mother's problems with you run deeper than sibling rivalry. They're about ghosts you've never met. I arrived at the house at 6:30 p.m. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of orange and gold that felt obscene. This wasn't a sunset kind of conversation. Mom's car in the driveway, the new Honda CR-V she'd gotten in November. Adrian's beat-up Toyota. Dad's Tesla, leased, I now knew, not owned. And Abuelo's old Lincoln, solid and dependable as always. I sat in my car for 5 full minutes, red folder on my passenger seat, heart hammering against my ribs. Then I grabbed the folder and walked inside. The dining room smelled like Mom's cooking, roasted chicken, garlic, cilantro. The table was set for 5 with the good dishes, like this was a celebration. Classical music played softly from the kitchen speaker. Adrian was already seated, scrolling on his phone. He looked up when I entered, and something flickered across his face. Guilt? Fear? He knew something. Hey, Cat, he said softly. Hey. Mom emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel, smile plastered on. Catalina, you're here. I was worried you'd be late. Wouldn't miss it. I set my bag down carefully, folder hidden inside. Dad appeared next, drink in hand, corporate smile in place. Cat, how's the apartment treating you? Fine. I couldn't do small talk, not anymore. Where's Abuelo? Parking. He insisted on bringing wine. Mom laughed, but it sounded like glass breaking. You know how he is. The front door opened. Abuelo Tomas entered carrying not wine, but a leather briefcase. Our eyes met across the room. He nodded once. It's time. Dad. We sat. Dad at the head of the table, Mom to his right, Adrian to his left, Abuelo at the far end, me in the middle, equidistant from everyone. Neutral ground, except there was no neutral ground left. Mom served chicken with trembling hands. Dad made comments about work, something about a new client, a project deadline. Adrian said nothing, just pushed food around his plate. Abuelo watched everything with those sharp lawyer eyes. I made it through salad, through the first helping of chicken, through Mom's forced cheerfulness and Dad's corporate pleasantries. Then I couldn't anymore. Dad, I said, cutting through Mom's story about a patient. Can we talk about my savings account? The room went still. Not silent. The music still played, forks still rested on plates, but everything human stopped. Dad didn't look up from his chicken. What about it? It's almost empty. Mom's hand froze halfway to her water glass. Adrian's eyes went wide. Empty? Dad said, finally looking at me. That's odd. Maybe you've been spending more than you realize. That apartment, the city, it adds up. I didn't spend it. My voice was steady, deadly. Someone else did. Kat, Mom started, every Tuesday for 8 months, $500 to $2,200 at a time, always when I wouldn't notice. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the statement. Total, $25,153. Adrian pushed back from the table. What? Dad set down his fork with careful precision. When he looked at me, something in his face had changed. The mask was slipping. We needed it, he said simply. You needed it. I repeated the words like they were foreign. You needed my money. For your brother. Still no apology, no shame. He deserves opportunities you never... Never what? My voice rose. Never needed? Never earned? Catalina. Mom's voice was sharp. Don't take that tone with your father. I turned to her. You knew. You were part of this. She looked away. Answer enough. That's when Dad said it. He looked straight at me, no flinch, no hesitation, and delivered the line that would fracture everything. We spent your savings on someone better. The words hit like a physical blow. Adrian dropped his fork. The clatter rang out like a gunshot. Mom gasped. Raphael! Better than me? I heard myself ask. Dad's face was stone. Adrian has potential. He needs support, guidance, investment. You're already working. You're stable. You don't need the same resources. Abuelo Tomas stood. The movement was slow, deliberate, and somehow more terrifying than if he'd shouted. He rose from his chair like a judge preparing to deliver a sentence. Name that someone, he said, voice ice cold. Now. Papa, this is a family matter. Name that someone. Dad's composure cracked. Fine, Adrian. Adrian needed... I never asked for any of this! Adrian was on his feet, shaking, tears streaming down his face. I told you to stop! I told you months ago to give it back! The room imploded. You knew? I stood, the world tilting beneath me. Adrian turned to me, face destroyed. For 3 months. I saw a statement. I asked Dad what it was. He said it was a short-term loan, that he'd pay you back before you noticed. His voice broke. I believed him. I thought it was just until his business recovered. I didn't know it was this much. I didn't know about the loan application. Loan application? Mom's voice cracked. Raphael, what loan application? I pulled the folder from my bag, threw it on the table, papers scattered, statements, graphs, the credit application with my forged signature. He tried to put me $15,000 in debt, I said, in my name, without telling me. Mom stared at the papers like they were written in blood. No, Raphael, you said we'd only take a little. We didn't have a choice. Dad's voice finally rose. The company went bankrupt. We lost everything. The house, the cars, Adrian's tuition. We were drowning. Silence. Then Abuelo. When? Dad's face crumpled. June. We've been underwater since June. 6 months, I whispered. You've been stealing from me for 6 months because you went bankrupt. We were going to pay you back. With what money? Abuelo's voice cut like a blade. You have no company, no income. You've been living off your daughter like a parasite. Mom started crying. We were about to lose the house. Adrian would have to drop out. We just needed time. So you stole from the one person who trusted you most? I was shouting now. You let me work myself to exhaustion. You watched me skip meals to save money. You listened to me talk about my dreams while you were actively destroying them. Catalina, Dad reached for me. I jerked back. Don't touch me. Adrian collapsed back into his chair, head in his hands. This is why you pushed me so hard. The extra classes, the programs, the art intensive. You were trying to justify what you stole. We were investing in your future, With her money, Adrian screamed. With money she earned while I was having fun at college. The truth was out now, spreading like poison gas. There was no containing it. Abuelo opened his briefcase, pulled out his own documents. I've known about the bankruptcy for 4 months, he said quietly. I've been paying your mortgage, Raphael. $2,800 a month. 4 payments. Dad went white. You... what? I knew you'd lost Rodriguez and Associates. I knew you were drowning. What I didn't know, what I prayed wasn't true, was whether my son would come to me like a man. He paused. Or steal from his daughter like a coward. The weight of those words crushed everything. You knew? Mom whispered. All this time? I was waiting, Abuelo said, looking at me now. Waiting for Catalina to find her fight, to stop being the good girl who understood, to stop letting you use her like a credit card with no limit. He turned back to Dad. You chose wrong, Raphael. You chose shame over honesty, theft over humility, and now you'll face the consequences. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. The thought of my apartment, that space I'd built with stolen money, savings that had already been plundered, felt contaminated. Instead, I drove to Abuelo's house and slept in his guest room, the one that still smelled like my grandmother's lavender sachets, even though she'd been gone 20 years. I lay awake until 4 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying Dad's words. Someone better. At dawn, Abuelo knocked softly. Coffee's ready, mija. We sat in his kitchen as the sun rose, not speaking, just existing in the wreckage. Finally, he pushed a business card across the table. James Mitchell, 9 o'clock this morning. He's expecting us. Us? You think I'd let you walk into a legal battle alone? His eyes were fierce. I've been preparing for this moment for 6 months. Now we finish it. James Mitchell's office looked different in daylight. Less refuge, more war room. He had files spread across his conference table, a laptop open, and a yellow legal pad covered in notes. Ms. Rodriguez, Mr. Rodriguez. He gestured to seats. Let's discuss your options. He laid out 3 paths like a choose-your-own-adventure with life-altering consequences. Option 1, criminal charges. Embezzlement, identity theft, the loan application. Possible 2 to 5 years jail time for Raphael. Full restitution ordered by court. Permanent criminal record. This is the nuclear option, James said. It's justified, but it's also irreversible. Option 2, civil lawsuit. Sue for return of funds plus emotional damages. No criminal record but expensive. Could take 12 to 18 months. No guarantee of collection, even if you win. Option 3, mediated settlement. Structured repayment with legal consequences if breached. Faster resolution, weeks, not years. Preserves possibility of family relationship. Requires their cooperation. Which would you recommend? I asked. James looked at Abuelo, then back at me. Honestly, I'd recommend option 1. What they did was criminal, but... He paused. Your grandfather asked me to present all options because he believes this decision has to be yours, made with full information. I stared at the papers, at my life reduced to legal strategies. Can I have time to think? You have until Monday, James said. But Kat, there's something else you should know. Someone who wants to meet you. She walked into a coffee shop like she owned it, confident, mid-40s, with dark hair shot through with silver and eyes that saw too much. She found me in the corner booth instantly, like she'd known exactly what I'd look like. Catalina. Not a question, a statement of recognition. Ms. Wright. Vanessa. She slid into the seat across from me. I've been waiting 21 years for this conversation. Up close, I could see the exhaustion around her eyes, the careful way she held herself, like someone who'd built walls to survive. Abuelo told me about the loan, I said. The $180,000. Your father owes me $180,000. Your mother owes me a lifetime of apologies. Her voice was sharp. But you owe me nothing, which is why I'm here. She pulled out a worn photo album, opened it to a page marked with a faded ribbon. The pictures hit me like a fist. young Natalia, maybe 22, laughing, and next to her, young Vanessa. They had their arms around each other, faces bright with the kind of friendship that felt invincible. Columbia University 1998, Vanessa said. We were roommates, best friends, closer than sisters. She flipped pages. Here's graduation. Here's her wedding to your father. Here's... She stopped at a photo of Natalia in a hospital bed, holding a newborn wrapped in pink. Holding me. And standing next to the bed, beaming, was young Vanessa. I was there when you were born, she said softly. March 14th, 2002, 6:47 a.m. You came out screaming like you were angry at the world. My throat tightened. What happened? You. She looked up, eyes bright with old pain. You happened, or rather your mother's reaction to you happened. Vanessa flipped to another photo, me at maybe 18 months, toddling in a park. Vanessa holding my hand while Natalia stood several feet away, arms crossed, face distant. I noticed it immediately. The way she held you like you were fragile but unwanted. The way she'd hand you to anyone else, your father, me, a neighbor, whenever you cried. I thought maybe it was postpartum depression. She shook her head. But it didn't get better. It got worse. When you turned 2, I confronted her. I said, Natalia, you're treating this baby like she's a burden, like you can't love her. She denied it. But then, Vanessa's voice cracked. Then she told me the truth. I couldn't breathe. What truth? You have your maternal grandmother's eyes. Elena Maria Torres. The woman who spent Natalia's entire childhood telling her she'd never be good enough, pretty enough, smart enough. The woman who died when Natalia was 19, having never once said, I love you. The coffee shop noise faded. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. Your mother looks at you and sees her abuser. Vanessa closed the album, and instead of getting help, instead of breaking the cycle, she just transferred all that old pain onto you. Made you the receptacle for every cruel word her mother ever said to her. That's why she's always cold, I whispered. Why she can't look at me directly. Why every achievement I had made her pull away. Because your success reminded her that her mother was wrong, that she could have been enough, if only Elena had seen it. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I told her she needed therapy, that she was damaging you. She told me to leave and never come back. For 21 years? Until 6 months ago, when your father's company collapsed. Suddenly, I was useful again. Bitterness dripped from every word. She called, crying, begging, said they'd lose everything. I lent them $200,000 because... She laughed, hollow. Because I remembered holding a little girl who deserved better than the mother she got. The pieces fell into place. The pattern of my life, explained by a ghost I'd never met. They've paid back $20,000, Vanessa continued. At this rate, I'll never see the rest. But that's not why I'm here. She pulled out another envelope. Inside, a job offer. Vanessa Wright Consulting. Position, junior analyst. Salary, $65,000 per year. This isn't charity, she said firmly. I've seen your work history. 3 jobs, perfect attendance, glowing references. You're exactly the kind of employee I need. Someone who knows how to work, how to fight, how to survive. Why? My voice broke. You don't even know me. I know your mother threw away a 20-year friendship rather than face the truth about how she treats you. Vanessa's eyes blazed. I know you've been fighting alone your whole life, and I know talent when I see it. She stood, leaving the envelope on the table. The offer stands for 1 week. Think about it. But Kat? She paused at the door. You deserve a family that chooses you. If they won't be that family, let me be the mentor that actually sees you. That evening, 3 people called me. First, Adrian. Kat, don't answer if you don't want to, but I need to say this. His voice was thick. I'm dropping out. What? No. I can't be the reason you lost everything. I'm getting a job. I'll help pay you back. It's the only way I can live with myself. Adrian, that's not... I've already decided. Job interview tomorrow at a tech store. It's done. A pause. I'm so fucking sorry, Kat, for not telling you sooner, for enjoying things bought with your money, for being their excuse. You were their victim too. Maybe, but you were mine first. He hung up before I could argue. Second, Mom, Catalina. She sounded small, broken. Your father wants to talk about repayment terms. Can you come to dinner Wednesday? No. Silence. Then, barely audible. I never meant to be like her. Like who? My mother. Her voice cracked. I swore I'd be different, and I became exactly the same. I wanted to feel sympathy. I tried, but all I felt was tired. Then get help, Mom. Actually, get help, because I can't fix what's broken in you. I hung up. Third, Dad. Catalina, we need to discuss this reasonably. There's nothing reasonable about what you did. I'm your father. You're a thief who happens to share my DNA. My voice was ice. You'll talk to my lawyer. Only my lawyer. If you contact me directly again, I'm filing criminal charges. You wouldn't? Try me. Wednesday, December 18th. James Mitchell's conference room. 2 p.m. Present. Me, red folder in front of me like armor. Abuelo Tomas, silent, watchful. Raphael and Natalia across the table, not touching. Adrian, by the door, like he might run. James Mitchell, head of table. Court reporter, recording everything. James began. This is a mediation session with binding legal authority. Everything said here is on record. We're here to establish terms of restitution and, if possible, avoid criminal prosecution. He looked at me. Ms. Rodriguez, please state your terms. I opened my folder. Read from the list I'd written at 3 a.m. 1. Full restitution of $25,153 plus $3,000 in damages for emotional distress. Total, $28,153. 2. Payment plan of $1,200 per month for 24 months. 3. Immediate removal from all accounts, credit cards, and financial instruments bearing my name. 4. Written, notarized apology acknowledging theft and agreeing never to contact me financially again. 5. Mandatory family therapy for all parties if any future relationship is to exist. 6. If a single payment is missed, I reserve the right to file criminal charges without further warning. I looked up. Those are my terms. Non-negotiable. Raphael's face went red. We can't afford to do $200 a month. We're barely making minimum payments on everything as it is. Abuelo stood. The room went silent. Then perhaps, he said, pulling documents from his briefcase, you can explain how you're affording this. He slammed papers onto the table, bank statements, receipts, credit card bills. $400 dinner at Morton's Steakhouse last Friday, $800 at Nordstrom on Saturday, 2 tickets to Hamilton, $600 Sunday matinee. His voice was surgical. You're broke, Raphael? Or you're just prioritizing luxury over integrity? Natalia gasped. Raphael, you said we had to be careful. I took a client to dinner. I needed those clothes for the interview. The tickets were… While your daughter eats ramen, Abuelo finished. While she works 60-hour weeks. While she lives in an apartment with broken heating because she's saving every dollar. That's not fair. Twist number 4. Abuelo's full plan. You want to talk about fair? Abuelo's voice dropped to something dangerous. I didn't just pay your mortgage for 4 months, Raphael. I've been funding this entire mediation. James Mitchell? I hired him. The forensic accountant who traced every dollar you stole? I paid her. The court reporter sitting here? My dime. He turned to me. And I did it all without telling you because I needed you to find your own strength first. To stop being the girl who made herself small. To become the woman who demands what she's owed. Raphael looked broken. Papa, why? Because I failed you, Hijo. I raised you to believe that being a man meant providing, no matter the cost. I taught you that pride mattered more than honesty. And when you fell, instead of coming to me, you destroyed your own daughter to preserve that pride. His voice broke. I couldn't save you from yourself, but I could save her from you. Natalia stood suddenly, chair scraping. Enough! Everyone froze. She looked at me, really looked at me, for maybe the first time in my life. You want to know why? Her voice shook. You really want to know why I couldn't love you the way I should have? Mom, Adrian started. No. She cut him off. She deserves the truth. The confession. You have her eyes, Natalia said. Elena Maria Torres, my mother, the woman who told me every day that I wasn't enough, that I was too loud, too stupid, too worthless, who died without ever once saying she was proud of me. Tears streamed down her face. And then you were born, and you looked at me with those same eyes, and I know it's not your fault. I know you're not her, but every time I see your face, I see her disappointment. I see every failure, every inadequacy, every wound she carved into me. Her voice rose. Adrian was easy to love because he looked like Raphael. He had nothing of her in him. He felt safe. But you, she sobbed, you were a mirror of everything I was running from. So you made me pay for her sins, I said quietly. Yes. The admission came out like a death rattle, and I am so desperately, unforgivably sorry. Silence. Then Adrian. That's the sickest thing I've ever heard. Adrian. No, Mom. You punished Kat for having the wrong face? For reminding you of someone she never even met? He stood. I'm out. I'm dropping out, getting a job, and helping Kat get her money back. Because this family is fucking toxic and I won't be part of it anymore. Sit down, I said. He blinked. What? You're not dropping out. You didn't do this. They did. I looked at Raphael and Natalia. He's innocent. Punishing him punishes me all over again. James cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss actual terms. Raphael, defeated. We'll sign. Whatever you want. We'll sign. Typed up, notarized, witnessed. 20 ani $153 to be repaid at $1,175 month for 24 months. Abuelo continues paying mortgage as loan to them, interest accruing. Catalina removed from all accounts immediately. Mandatory individual therapy for Natalia, proof required monthly. Mandatory financial counseling for Raphael. Adrian's college to be funded by Abuelo, separate from repayment. No contact except through lawyer unless Catalina initiates Raphael and Natalia signed with shaking hands. One more thing, I said. If you miss even one payment, I'm not just filing charges. I'm telling everyone. Your friends, your colleagues, your church. Everyone gets to know that Rafael Rodriguez steals from his own daughter. Raphael flinched like I'd slapped him. Good. After they left, broken, humiliated, legally bound, Abuelo asked me to stay. Mija, there's something else. He pulled out a sealed envelope, cream-colored, heavy paper. My name in elegant script, Catalina Rosa Rodriguez. This is from your grandmother, Abuela Maria. She passed when you were 3. My hands shook taking it. Inside, a letter and a bank statement. The letter. My dearest Catalina, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're 23 years old enough to understand what I'm about to tell you. I saw how your mother treated you, even when you were just a baby. I recognized it because I lived it myself. My own mother was cold, distant, cruel in small ways that accumulated into scars. I couldn't change Natalia. Lord knows I tried, but I could protect you. This trust fund holds $50,000. It was to be given to you on your 23rd birthday, March 14th, 2024. But I added one condition. Tomas, my husband, was to observe you first. If you had become hard, bitter, cruel from your treatment, he was to keep it locked until you found your way back to kindness. If you had stayed soft despite everything, if you still had fight and compassion, then you earned not just the money, but the wings to fly. Make sure Catalina learns to roar before you give her wings. I love you, mijita. I always did. Abuela Maria. The bank statement showed $50,000, dated March 14th, 2024, 8 months ago. I looked up at Abuelo through tears. You've had this for 8 months. I had to wait, he said gently. Your grandmother was right. If I'd given it to you when your account was full, you'd have never checked. Never found the theft. You'd have spent the next 20 years being drained. You let me hit bottom. I let you find your fight. He took my hands. The money was always yours, mija. But what you've gained, your voice, your boundaries, your spine, that's worth more than any inheritance. June 2025. My new apartment had windows that actually opened, hardwood floors, a kitchen where more than one person could stand. I'd furnished it slowly, real furniture this time, not thrift store salvation. The succulent on my windowsill was still alive. Small victories. Morning ritual, coffee, email, bank account check, savings, 43,847, 50,000 from Abuela, invested growing, $18,000 from salary, 6 months at Vanessa's firm, $7,050 the new apartment deposits furniture, plus $7,050 from parents, 6 payments on time, everyone. The math of healing quantified. A note. Work. Vanessa Wright, consulting, 42nd floor, downtown. My desk faced the city. My title, junior analyst. My reality, apprentice to a woman who'd lost me once and refused to lose me again. Morning, Kat, Vanessa said, dropping a file on my desk. New client, manufacturing company, suspect embezzlement. Think you can spot the patterns? I smiled. I'm an expert in embezzlement patterns. That's my girl. We weren't family, but we were something. Something I chose. Shit. Family status. Raphael. Got a job. Middle management at a logistics company. Sends $1,175 like clockwork. His emails are short. Payment sent. Dad. I don't reply. Natalia. In therapy. Twice a week. Sent me a 12-page letter 3 months ago explaining everything. Her mother, her trauma, her failures. I read it once, cried, put it in a drawer. We've met for coffee twice. Both times were stilted, painful, honest. Progress measured in millimeters. Adrian. Stayed in school. Abuelo's paying. We have dinner every Thursday, just us. He's majoring in social work now. Someone should help people who got screwed by their families, he said. Last week, he introduced me to his girlfriend. She hugged me and said, Adrian talks about you constantly. You're his hero. First time anyone called me that. Abuelo Tomas. Moved into an apartment 3 blocks from mine. Weekly dinners. He's teaching me chess. Strategy for life, mija. Always think 3 moves ahead. Last Sunday, he beat me in 12 moves. I'm improving. The call that changed things. Friday afternoon. Unknown number. Is this Catalina Rodriguez? Speaking. This is Dr. Helena Reyes from City General. Your mother listed you as emergency contact. She's had a minor heart attack. She's stable, but she's asking for you. My hand tightened on the phone. Is she okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally. The doctor paused. She's asking if you'll come. I looked at my calendar. Meeting in 20 minutes. Client presentation at 3. Dinner with Vanessa at 6. My new life. The one I'd built from rubble. I'll be there in 40 minutes, I heard myself say. The hospital. Natalia looked small in the hospital bed. Monitors beeped. IVs dripped. She looked older than I'd ever seen her. When she saw me, she started crying. You came. I came. I didn't think you would. I pulled up a chair. I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. But I'm not cruel. I won't become what you were. She nodded, tears streaming. That's the difference between you and me. Between you and my mother. You break the cycle. I never could. We sat in silence. Not comfortable, but not hostile. Finally, I'm proud of you, Catalina. I don't think I've ever said that. Something in my chest cracked. Not breaking. Thawing. Say it again sometime, I said. When you mean it without the hospital lighting. I mean it now. Then say it again anyway. The final scene: Vanessa's office, big client meeting, manufacturing CEO, CFO, their lawyers, me presenting my analysis. The discrepancies suggest systematic diversion over 18 months. Classic signs: small amounts, regular intervals buried in operational expenses. I pulled up my presentation. Here's the pattern, here's the source, here's your embezzler. The CEO blinked. You're certain? I've seen this before, intimately. I clicked to the next slide. Here's how you stop it. Here's how you recover. Here's how you rebuild trust. 90 minutes later, they signed the contract. $200,000 in consulting fees. Vanessa pulled me aside after. You just made partner track, you know that? I know. How does it feel? I thought about it. About the girl who packed her own lunches, who walked to school alone, who saved every dollar while her family stole it. About the woman standing in a corner office with city lights behind her, finally heard. It feels like I stopped making myself small to fit into their idea of me, I said, and started building a life that fits who I actually am. Vanessa hugged me. That's my girl. Epilogue. 1 year later, December 2025. The restaurant was loud, crowded, festive. Adrian and his girlfriend, Abuelo Tomas, Vanessa, Jessica Thompson, even James Mitchell off the clock, relaxed. My people, the family I'd chosen. Halfway through dinner, Adrian handed me an envelope. From Dad and Mom. They asked me to give it to you. No pressure to open it. I stared at it, then opened it. Inside, a check for $5,000 and a note. Catalina, this is the final payment, 6 months early. We sold the house, downsized, used the profit to pay you back in full with extra for the time we stole. We don't expect forgiveness. We don't deserve it. But we wanted you to know. We're trying, really trying. Therapy, honesty, humility. Your mother is facing her demons. I'm facing mine. You didn't just survive us. You became everything we weren't. We're proud of you, even if we lost the right to say it. Raphael and Natalia. I folded the note, tucked it away. You okay? Adrian asked. Yeah. And I meant it. I'm okay. Because I was. Not because they'd changed. Not because they'd paid me back. Not because of any external validation, but because I'd learned the truth they never taught me. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the foundation you build your life on. Self-respect isn't selfish. It's survival. And sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I raised my glass. To new beginnings. Everyone echoed. To new beginnings. And for the first time in 23 years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Not because they needed me, but because I chose them. And they chose me